Thanks for tuning in to The Real Deal Show, brought to you by eBodyboarding.com and Tribe Boards.
Hey everybody, Jay Reale back at you for 2023 with our very first Real Deal Show of the year. And I have with me a man who is multifaceted, multi-talented, and besides that, a super nice guy. Tell us your name.
Matt Davies, but everybody calls me Maeve.
There you go. So he's known as Maeve. Welcome, Maeve. Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay, and so Maeve grew up in the UK. He now lives in Portugal. He's working for Bodyboard Holidays as a part-time gig, and we're going to get into what else he's doing, which is pretty amazing throughout this podcast. But let's talk about your upbringing in the UK. What part of the UK are you from?
Sure. So, firstly, thank you for inviting me.
Happy to have you.
And it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to bodyboard with you and Vicky this week.
Thanks.
When I got into bodyboarding, which is linked to my growing up, I idolized you guys. I really wanted the red J Reale Maury board, but Dad said no, you're going to start off with a cheaper one, so I started with a Gold G-Force, so I never got to ride the Maury.
I still have one in the wrapper. If you're really nice, I may consider it, but we'll see. Don't hold your breath. No,
so grew up south coast of England, very close to the coast. It's not a great wave, but there is a small surfing community there. And before I was 15, I really remember walking along the coast and seeing these surfers paddling out, and they'd spend more time paddling out than they were getting waves. I used to say to my friends, like, that just seems ridiculous, like you're just paddling out, not getting waves. And then I guess when I was 15 or 16, some guys at school started getting into bodyboarding. And one day my dad said, look, they just bought a horse for my sisters, and he said, look, we've spent this money on your sisters, what would you like? And I said, some of the guys at school have started bodyboarding, I wouldn't mind giving that a go. So we went to the bodyboard shop, had the eye on the Reale board, got the Gold G-Force, and then went back to school, said to the guys, hey, I got a bodyboard, and they were like, we don't do that anymore. That was like last year.
Well, first of all, just to stop you, I'm thinking your parents are like celebrating because your sister, the horse, that's insanely expensive, that whole world. Right. And here you just want a paltry bodyboard, so they're stoked on that. But your friends said, no, we're not into that. It's not cool anymore. Is that kind of it?
Yeah, there was one guy still bodyboarding, really good, one of my closest friends, and he was still doing it. So we went a couple of times, and then him and I, he's called Nick, or he goes by the name Greek, so Greek and Maeve, we traveled the world together, surfing or bodyboarding all around the world together, and it was That's how it all started.
And were you into any kind of sport or arts or anything prior to getting into bodyboarding?
I've always been very active. So I played football, played basketball at school, tennis, bit of rugby through school, but just always keeping active. But football was the main thing.
And that's soccer if you're from the United States or Australia.
Or just
what we call soccer.
Going out on the bike. Just being active, really.
And so bodyboarding obviously took hold of your existence, it sounds like, because you said you started traveling with your friend at that point, right?
Yeah, so it's...
With Greek.
Yeah, with Greek. So Greek and I started traveling. We would travel, first of all, in school holidays. A friend of ours, his mother... was a travel agent for the Canary Islands. We did a lot of trips in school holidays to Canaries. We finished school, we did the classic Oz van trip, we did Indonesia, we did Sri Lanka, France.
Wow.
We used to go to Ireland a lot. Then I went to university and chose university down in Cornwall, so near where Bodyboard Holidays is. Exactly.
By the beach.
So always sort of figuring out where I was, bodyboarding sort of chose where I lived, where I holidayed. Then after university, a bit more traveling, and then went to France, met a French girl, to Osogor, so great for bodyboarding again. And then from there to Portugal and a few other places.
Okay, so let me back up a little bit. So you're doing all these crazy trips, traveling by van around Australia, going through Europe, Canaries. my listeners and viewers are going to be asking, how did he finance these trips? They want to know how you pay for this stuff. That's what people are interested in. And tell us what you can.
Sure. So actually, I'm sort of famous among my friends. I've had more than 50 jobs. So
wow.
Yeah. So that was, and a lot of those would be that I would have 2 or 3 jobs in the UK, because back then the pound was really strong, and whether I was working nights in a petrol station, then delivering pizzas during the day, and then I don't know, working in a factory or something. I was always juggling 2 or 3 jobs for about 3 months, stacking shelves at a supermarket during the night. Yeah, some horrible stuff. And then I'd go away for 3-4 months, or however long my money would last, go back to the UK and repeat that. So I've had some,
pretty common theme, I think, amongst wave riders in general. They'll do those kind of piecemeal jobs to make enough money, travel, spend it all, repeat.
Yeah, exactly.
And do the same thing again. So what did you study at university?
So yeah, eventually I got to university because I quit the first year to go traveling again.
Classic.
But went back and I came out with international business and marketing.
Okay, that's interesting, because it's now sort of come to fruition that you're, I guess, kind of using that degree. Let's not get into that just yet, because that's coming later.
Lots more twists and turns.
So you mentioned you were in Hossegor, you met a French girl, then you ended up in Portugal. So you left out a lot of seedy sort of details, I'm sure, there. But when you were in Hossegor, were you working there as well? What were you doing there, and how did you work there? Did you speak enough French to get by?
Yeah, all good questions. So just before moving to France, so I'd travelled, then I'd jacked in a year at uni, so my parents just wanted me to get a degree, and then I did the degree. I did a bit of travelling after the degree, and they were just, come on, get a proper job. And I did get a proper job, a quantity surveyor in construction. They were very happy, had a suit, go to the office. And then out of nowhere, I met this French girl, and within 3 weeks of meeting her, I gave up everything and went to Hossegor.
Oh, man.
With no French, and before I know it, I'm washing pots, which was great for that first summer to, just find my feet in Hossegor, and I'd surf during the day and then work in the evenings.
Yeah, what do you mean washing parts? What is
pots.
that?
Sorry,
pots.
Dishes.
Sorry, the accent got me.
Le plongeur.
Washing dishes. So you have a university degree and international business. There you are as a dishwasher in France, all because of a chick.
Exactly.
Sorry,
exactly.
ladies, I'm just joking, of course. But yes, that's a common theme, I think, amongst many people. So continue. So how did the story progress here?
Yeah, after about, it was a really tough summer, working a lot of hours. I had this chef just barking at me in French. I was washing the dishes, maybe make some salads or things, and I thought, hang on, I'm 26, I shouldn't really be washing dishes. So I took a course so that I could teach English as a foreign language.
Okay.
Which I then went on to do for about 10 years. And I took the course there in Hossegor, and then the French girl and I sort of went our separate ways. And Hossegor, particularly in the winter, it's a small place, and we sort of realized it's probably not big enough for the two of us. So it was me that had to find a different country, if you like. And thoroughly enjoyed living in France, getting good waves, new culture. So I thought, I want to continue this. I don't want to go back to the UK.
Okay.
And applied online for a job in Portugal. I'd never been there.
What kind of job did you apply for? Anything?
So an English teaching job. So with that course, I was able to find this this job just in Lisbon, actually. And never been to Portugal. And I remember going online and just having a quick look, and I saw some pictures of a wedge near Lisbon. I thought, I'm going there.
Again, motivated by the surf, as many of us are.
You get the theme. And it was very quick. Before I knew it, I was at Gatwick Airport in London. I'm heading to Portugal, and I thought, right, in France, I didn't take advantage for learning French. I had a French girlfriend. I was there best part of a year, and my French pretty much sucked. So I thought, right, in Portugal, I'll make a special effort and learn the language. So at Gatwick Airport, I bought a Spanish phrase book. I assume they spoke Spanish.
Spanish! And you're going to Portugal. I love it.
So, studying on the plane, and then, first taxi I got into, realised that they speak Portuguese.
You're like, buenos dias. They're like, what? Boa dia, right? What was it?
Bon dia.
Bon dia. That's right. God, that's classic. So, you got to Portugal and you had this job lined up. So you took the taxi to the place where you were going to work. I assume they had accommodation all sorted out and all that for you. Did you have to be a roommate with someone else who was also teaching English?
Yeah, so I roomed with 2 other teachers that had come over from England for their first year as well.
Okay.
And worked in this school. It was a team of about 10 of us, small school, and it was teaching English. It was like an academy, so the teaching hours were in the evening. So I'd have all day to surf.
Perfect.
And then I'd start work at about 4 or 5, then work till about 9. And yeah, so I'd get up each morning, go surfing, and then jump on the train to work each day.
That's the perfect gig for somebody that's, you know, into wave riding. And so you mentioned the train to work, so you didn't have a vehicle.
Not in my first year, and then second year realized, because Portugal you do need a vehicle. Portugal's blessed with so many amazing bodyboard waves, but if you've got a vehicle you can always be at the best spot.
Yes.
On any given day.
So you then bought a vehicle, right? Okay. And so then how does the story progress from there? You eventually met Joanna.
Yes. So I arrived in Portugal 2007.
Yep.
And sort of did this teaching thing right through till about 2015, 2016. And in that time, teaching evenings, surfing during the day. I even left Portugal for 2 years where I lived in northern Spain, near Mundaka actually.
Wow.
And Italy, and got some waves in Italy.
Why did you leave? You just got
Too cold.
restless? Oh, it's too cold.
Yeah,
okay.
Despite I'm from England, I really feel the cold, and some of the mornings out at Mundaka when you're waiting for waves, particularly after the snow melts off the mountains, it comes out into that, you know, that estuary. Yeah. And I just thought, I had a really good gig in Portugal.
Yes, but you had wanderlust. You wanted to get out and do more of that international man of mystery stuff and see other countries after a few years in Portugal. But then you realized how good you had it?
Yeah, exactly. And just thought, it was, I really enjoyed Portugal and the water was warmer. So headed back, and then not long after heading back to Portugal was when I met Joanna.
Okay.
And her and I have been together, this is our 6th year, so.
Wow, congrats. So now I will point out we're in El Salvador. You can probably see the beautiful tropical foliage behind us with the Bodyboard Holidays crew. And Maeve is an expectant father as we record this. You have a young son on the way in a couple of months here, so congratulations to you for that. Let's talk about the Bodyboard Holidays connection before we get into kind of what your day job is now. How did that all happen?
Sure, so growing up in the bodyboard scene in the UK, I used to always buy 360, which Rob Barber was the editor of. Yep. And got to know him just through the UK bodyboarding scene because it's quite small. And then I guess 2013, 2014, Rob started doing some trips in Portugal, and he reached out and said, we should hook up and you can see what I'm doing here. And I joined one of the trips for a couple of days, and I thought, this is cool. I enjoy what he's doing. You know, you get to hang out with a bunch of cool people, like-minded bodyboarders, and chase waves every day. Yeah. So I did that for a couple of days, and then he said, would you like to work on one of the Portugal trips, the next one coming? I can't remember, it was in 3 months time or 4 months from when we met. And I said and that's where it started. I slowly phased out the English teaching and started ramping up the Bodyboard Holidays, and within about a year I was on the Nicaragua, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Morocco, Portugal, Ireland trips, and had a good couple of years of traveling around to all of the different locations.
That's pretty optimal for a guy who likes to travel and ride waves, right? Somebody else is footing the bill. In this case, Rob, of course, your contribution is as an instructor and a guide in these locations. So it seems like the perfect symbiosis of your needs and Rob's needs. And so you did all these trips, and then how did that progress to you? You sort of became the guy in Portugal that Rob leaned on to run the trips there. How did that all happen?
So I've been in Portugal for a long time. I know it really, really well. And really enjoy receiving people. Within about a year, I think I was managing the Portugal trips.
And did you sort of partner with some accommodation there?
So accommodation-wise,
for everyone to stay?
Yeah, accommodation-wise, I had an English friend actually. He manages different villas in the Sintra area, near where the Sintra Pros held.
Yep.
And so we just rent this same villa every year. Beautiful villa, pool, lots of rooms, pool table, games room, close to the beach. It was brilliant. Yeah, rent that through a friend, and that was where the accommodation.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, and you're still doing it. We'll talk about that after I get into your day job. You're a very environmentally conscious person, right? Do you want to talk about that and how that led you to kind of what you're doing now, your big project?
Yeah, so another twisted turn in my life. So I've always loved nature, and I'm always in nature, whether it's surfing or I'm a keen trail runner, an ultra marathon runner. So love to be in the mountains or be in the ocean or just be in the countryside. Love walking my dogs, and always just been a bit concerned about the environment. I even remember as a little kid, this is a long time ago, I remember we used to take trips from our place to my nan's place. And in the south of England, there's not too much, there's no factories, but there's one, and I just remember seeing this plume of smoke coming out. And even as a kid, I felt very uneasy that there was this black smoke going into the sky. So I guess I've always been a bit concerned. And then actually through travels, you get to see sort of the destruction of, or man-made led destruction. When you travel, you see some beautiful places, but I've also witnessed some atrocities.
If you will, right?
I remember one time I visited Sumatra, and we didn't see the sun for about 10 days because that was the burning of rainforest in another part of Indonesia to plant palm oil plantations. So it was little things like this that I started to think, I'd like to have more of an impact, if possible, on the planet. And at that time, I'd gotten a bit bored of the English teaching. I was loving the Bodyboard Holidays, but I just wanted to, sounds cliche, but I just wanted to give back in some way possible. And a mutual friend of mine who's also a surfer, diver, keen outdoorsy person, a nature lover, he'd got to the same stage in his respective career, and we sort of said, should we try and set something up that may or may not have a positive impact, bounce some ideas together. And at the time, I think he was riding around Vietnam on a moped, doing that sort of trip, and I was in Nicaragua on a Bodyboard Holidays trip, and we had a Zoom call and said, should we get this started? And we created Mossy Earth, which is now 6 years old.
Wow. Is there a website? Give us the website.
So it's mossy.earth. And
Mossy, MOSSY .earth.
Exactly.
Okay, good to know. There's no .com in there?
No, it's .earth.
It's .earth.
.com,
okay,
it's
I didn't know there was a suffix now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mossy Earth, completely different to English teaching and Bodyboard Holidays. We are a social enterprise, and our mission is to restore wilderness, protect biodiversity, and help mitigate climate change, which we do through reforestation, rewilding, and conservation projects.
Wow.
And they can be anything from reforesting the Southern Carpathian Mountains in Romania, to releasing birds of prey in Spain, to we have a kelp forest project in Portugal, to very wide-ranging projects. And the sort of thread between all of these projects and what is our ambition is that our team of biologists are looking for the highest environmental return on our members' money. So with our members' money, we're looking for the most impactful projects. So if that is restoring a peatland in Scotland, or if that is planting trees in Iceland, or if that is saving, we have one project where we are trying to save a species of snail which only lives on an uninhabited island off the coast of Madeira. It's like a rock. So we're looking, our biologists have quite a thorough criteria of finding these projects that will have a sort of oversized impact to help the environment. So wide-ranging, really, really interesting projects.
Wow. Now, I mean, I can't imagine the logistics of trying to run something like that through all these different governments, and is there a lot of red tape, a lot of paperwork that has to be done, communication back and forth?
Sure. It's not as bad as you'd imagine. It is when we work with governments, but most of our projects are on privately owned land or existing nature reserves.
Okay.
So then there's less of that bureaucracy, and that's one of the reasons why we moved towards those areas.
So you mentioned members. Talk about the membership
Sure.
thing. How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a subscription, a bit like your Netflix or your gym, and it's typically £10, which is about $10, I guess.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Per month, and with that £10, 20% goes to the running costs of Mossy Earth, and then 40% goes to reforestation, so tree planting. So that's 4 trees every month, and then the other 40% goes on our rewilding projects, so which can be kelp restoration, building eagle nest platforms. We're working to protect wolves. So those sort of more wildlife projects. So there's 2 buckets, if you like.
Yeah.
One for reforestation every month, one for rewilding. And with all those projects going on, you can imagine it creates a lot of content.
Yeah.
So each member has a dashboard where they can log in, like an account, and you can also get it on an app. And there they can see where in their world their trees are planted, where their money has gone to a wildlife project, and then zoom in on those, and there are maps, GPS, videos from our biologists.
So it's really transparent for the members that want to see where their money's going, and I would imagine that would attract corporate entities who want to be associated with such a positive movement, but also there's a tax benefit to them in some aspects. They're donating money to a good cause, right? And they can write that off. So, right?
Yeah. And just going back to the transparency, that was another reason why, well, that was one of the pillars that Duarte and I set up. So Duarte's the other co-founder.
Okay.
Prior to Mossy Earth, I was and still am donating to different organizations, but I felt some of them I didn't really know what was happening with my money. Not to say I didn't trust them, but I just wanted to know a bit more. And also, there's always this sort of grey area with organizations, and people are always quite cynical, unfortunately, and I've been that cynic in the past. You know, is my money being spent on this? Is it being on that? So we try as best we can to be as transparent as possible, and that's what we've been doing from the beginning. So there's videos, there's GPS, there are we do Q&As with our members. Our members can vote on project decisions. So every 3 months we say, look, this is what we've earned in the last 3 months, this is what we're thinking of spending out, what do you think? So we try to incorporate them.
That's great.
As much as possible. Also build a community through Discord, YouTube. Members can book a call with any of the team, so they can just book up through the website to have a call with us. So we're trying our best, and we're always trying to improve that, because there's always new ways, particularly with technology, as to how you can show the on-the-ground impact. Yeah. And we would like that our members are able to see this, and then they decide for themselves whether we're doing right with their money or not. That's the, of course, that's the idea.
It's 100% transparency. I like that. So this seems like a work from home or digital nomad kind of gig. You can do this from anywhere, I would assume.
Yeah, so we're now a team of 14.
Oh, wow.
And about half of those are biologists, so they have a more on-the-ground presence. They're at the projects. They still have their laptop work, but they're on the ground a lot, whether it's setting up new projects, implementing existing, monitoring, because obviously when you implement a project you have to go back and monitor it. So they're on the ground a lot more, and then you sort of the more operations side of Mossy Earth. Yeah. Some of what I'm involved in is a lot more laptop work. So I'd like to be out in the field a little bit more. Sure. The biologists have the good gig, but at the same time, it's in really safe hands. They're a wonderful team.
Well, that's amazing, but let's circle this back to bodyboarding, because you say you'd like to do that a little more, but here you are in El Salvador, and you were in Costa Rica. We met up with you in Costa Rica as well a couple weeks ago. Yeah. Because bodyboarding is still such a huge part of your life. So this is something you don't have to do. You don't need the money, I would assume. I'm not going to dive into your finances, but it's a labor of love for you. Is that right? Doing this? I mean,
so going back to when I set up Mossy Earth, that was when I was doing full time with Rob. Doing all those trips, and I was living the dream. And Rob must have been exasperated when I said I've got to actually step back. I think on the one hand, he was stoked that I was building something like Mossy Earth, but on the other hand, I was doing a lot of the trips. So then for this last 6 years, I've been so busy with Mossy Earth, I had to leave the Bodyboard Holidays.
Okay.
And now, for the first time in 6 years, I've been able to sort of disentangle myself from the day-to-day running of Mossy Earth. And it's been a long time coming, and now I'm able to take a week off here, a week off there to help Rob. And I really enjoy it. I really enjoy sharing waves with people.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, on our first night here, you shared with the group that the most important thing is having fun. So I don't care 100%. If it's a beginner or a ripper. Like, let's just have fun in the water and to share stories and be somewhere like this for a week. Like,
I'm with you, man. I mean, you know, we have a business at home, and we could go here by ourselves, Vicky and I and my son, but we choose to join this crew because I love the vibe that is given off by all the people that participate in the Bodyboard Holidays. And here's the thing. This morning I was thinking about this. You know, we were out there with a group, and they're varying ability levels, but the best part for me is that it brings me back to when I first started bodyboarding, when everything is new, everything is fun. Sometimes you get pounded, sometimes you get the wave of the day, or even the wave of your life. And I'm not surrounded by like high level riders who are all about trying to outdo each other. This is all about, I want to see smiles on people's faces. I absolutely love that. And it sounds cheesy and maybe contrived, but I am 100% with you on that. And I feel like you're the same, because you know, we have fun if the group we're with has fun, and it doesn't take much. Sometimes it's just dropping down the face of a wave, smiles, boom, mission accomplished.
And that's why we started, wasn't it? That's how we got addicted to it. You know?
Yep. So we're coming back full circle. So, you know, we talked the other day. I talked to you about competing. Now, you were involved in the UK bodyboarding scene as a young man. Did you compete back then, and are you still competing to this day? Our listeners want to know.
Sure. So back in the UK, I did a couple of competitions, but my level then was not good enough. The level in the UK back then was very, very high. I was new to it as well, and I really sort of let's say progressed as a rider once I travelled and moved away. And also, I'm not one to compete. I get a bit nervous.
Okay.
However, in the last couple of years in drop knee, I really enjoyed drop knee. In the last few years, I end up riding more drop knee than prone.
Yep.
I've decided to enter a few competitions more. I'm getting competitive with myself. It's also a good way to meet other riders and also see other parts of Portugal. So I only do the national. There's a national event and there's some regional events that are really well organised. And I was telling you yesterday or the day before that one of the events is in Ericeira at Pedra Branca, which is the jewel in Ericeira's crown. It's a left-hander, a really good wave, but these days it's always packed. I'm not someone that can surf in a crowd, so I don't even check it anymore. And if I did, I wouldn't go in, because you only need more than 8 people on it, and I don't hassle. But this competition is at Pedra Branca, so I make a point. It's 3 times a year. They do this competition 3 times a year, and I make a point, if I can, to go there. And you get to surf Pedra Branca, you know. You get to surf Pedra Branca all day.
That's why you do it. I get it. Yeah, just a lot of guys, you know, the pipe event every year. A lot of guys never compete, but they'll sign up for the pipe event to surf it with 3 other guys in the water, or girls in the case of the ladies. So, yeah, it's a great benefit, you know, for a spot like Pedra Branca, which is white rock in English.
Yeah.
So yeah, amazing. So you mentioned earlier ultramarathoning. Now, Rob told me years ago, because I had a long stint in the endurance sports world as well. You mentioned you did ultramarathons as well. Tell me a couple of the highlights of your ultramarathon career.
Sure. So I've always enjoyed running, and I think I got into running after a breakup at university. I just needed to, I think I've learned through the years that I need to sort of exercise my emotions.
Sure.
Yep. I need to be active every day, and if I move, it releases stress. So I think at the time it was just run and get this out. And I entered a couple of road races in just after university, so I'm in my early 20s. I didn't know my arse from my elbow, and I was doing reasonably well, getting some reasonable results, and kept doing that. Then went to France and Portugal and was still running on and off and doing the odd road half marathon. I think I did the Lisbon full marathon, not taking it too seriously, but enjoying it. So essentially, if the days there weren't any waves, I'd go into the hills in Sintra. Sintra got some beautiful mountains, and I'd run. I didn't know that trail running was a thing, and I thought I'd prefer to run in nature than run on the road,
Sure.
even if the races were road running, which makes no sense, you know, now I know, but I just used to love being in the mountains. And then I met a girl who worked for the North Face, and she was she managed all their athletes, so their climbers, their skiers, and their ultra marathon runners. And she was telling me about these people that run for hundreds of miles in the mountains, and I was like, wow, this, like, what? How have I never heard of this?
I've been doing this all the time.
Yeah.
How do I get into this? Yes.
So then I started, and at the time, the North Face were the sponsors for the UTMB, which is for those
Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. It's in France.
Yeah, and for those that don't know too much about trail running, it's the sort of Mecca event, isn't it? It's the big one.
It's for you Americans, it's like the Super Bowl of ultra running.
Yeah.
Or the World Cup.
And I was able to get a free entry through her, and that was my first go at an ultra marathon.
Wow,
yeah.
UTMB was your first ultra?
Yeah, it was the 100K one, so it wasn't the full one, but even so, for your first.
That's 62 miles for you Americans. That's a long way to run.
And I just loved it. Just loved being on my own with just one objective: get to the next checkpoint and just be surrounded by beautiful nature. And I went on then to, I've done probably, I don't know, probably a dozen sort of 100-milers, probably twice that in sort of the 50-milers, and places. I've been to Madeira, the Azores, like really incredible places.
Yeah.
The Pyrenees, not the Pyrenees, the Dolomites in Italy, really wonderful places. Loads of places around Portugal. And yeah, when there's no waves, I just head into the mountains.
Yeah, and run.
Yeah.
And you're not still racing though? You've kind of moved away from that?
So
in terms of ultras?
Yeah, so the last probably 4 or 5 years I did a lot of racing. And then I decided to, the last race I did was about 3 months ago, but because Joanna and I are expecting a baby, I've got Mossy Earth, Bodyboard Holidays. I'm a keen bodyboarder, try to get in every day.
Sure.
I got dogs, and then something had to give, so I thought I'd just ease back off the trail running for a bit. But competing up till very recently. So.
Wow. Yeah. Now you're obviously in great shape. What do you do other than running? Anything else, or is that your 100% bodyboarding and running, your 100%?
Yeah, they're the two things that I just thoroughly enjoy. Like, I just can't go to a gym, it just doesn't.
Sure.
And where I actually live, I live in rural Portugal, so there isn't a gym, but just those two get me out of bed in the morning. But I'd say in the last couple of years, I'd make a point of stretching morning and evening. It's a sort of unnecessary evil. I used to try and do 1 or 2 yoga sessions a week of like an hour and a half, but I found it a bit boring, so now I do it little and often.
Got it.
I do 10-15 minutes in the morning and then 20 minutes in the evening.
Okay.
And that's enough, because any longer
it starts to, you lose interest. You're like, I'm wasting time, I got things to do. How old are you, Maeve?
I'm 41.
Okay, so you're a youngster. But we have a lot of parallels, like a lot of similar interests and a lot of parallels. I haven't done any 100-milers though.
But you've been doing the Ironmans. So.
Yeah, I've done a bunch of Ironmans and a lot of trail runs, but we do have a lot of parallels. So that's amazing, man. Sounds like you built a really great life for yourself. It sounds to me. You have a baby on the way. You have it seems like a good balance of work and play. And in the case of Bodyboard Holidays, which I know is kind of a side thing, you're combining the work and play into something you love to do, which is what we all aspire to. You know, there's that old phrase, you won't work a day in your life if you do what you love to do. Yeah. Right? So I think that's where we're all trying to get to, is that balance. So as we wrap this up, is there anyone you want to thank, any last words you want to put out there? I don't want to keep you too long.
No, not at all. Afternoon. I don't know if I can think of anything profound, but I certainly thank my parents for deciding to move to the coast. I actually get a shudder down my spine it was actually my grandfather that moved my father down to the coast, and my mother's mother that moved her family down to the coast. So quite a coincidence. I sometimes shudder if they had have stayed around the London area where they were, what would I have become? Because I can't imagine life without bodyboarding. It's the friends I know, it's the places I've travelled, it's, as you've seen, the different path I've taken, if it's been the right path or the wrong path, the girlfriends I've lost. So to thank...
There's a Willie Nelson song I need to pipe in over top of this. All the girls I've loved before. Yeah.
So family for moving to the coast, and then my parents as well for just letting me do what I love. And they must have shaken their head a few times and just thought, not again, he's quit uni, or oh no, well he's giving up quantities of aid to chase a girl to France.
Yes.
So they were never hard on me, they never questioned anything, so I definitely thank them. And then Joanna, my partner, we've got a little boy on the way, but we've also got 2 wonderful dogs with the same name.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the name of your dogs?
Luge.
So if you go to your house and you call for Luge, 2 dogs are coming.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if they're trained. Why did you name them both Luge?
So the first one we got, which is a yellow Labrador, such a wonderful dog. We had Luge for about a year, and we decided we'd like to find a buddy for her.
Right.
And we went online looking at like the different the shelter centres for abandoned dogs, etc. And we found this one, a black Labrador. It was the right age, looked like the right sort of had the right character, if you like.
Temperament.
Yep. Thank you, thank you, Jay. And I thought, this one. As we clicked it said its name was Luge, and I was like, oh, it's got to be.
So it sounds like that's a common name for a dog in Portugal. Is that right? No,
not too common. Luge means light.
Okay, got it.
But it has a bit more of a different connotation to it's nothing spiritual or anything, but it suits them. They are a light in my life. They're wonderful. And we have a 3-legged cat.
Oh my God! Did you get it with 3 legs, or something happened while you had the cat?
Yeah. So I'm more of a dog lover. Never had any ambitions of getting a cat. And I was walking the 2 Luges one day. One scurried off into a bush. I followed her in, and there was this little black cat that had been hit by a car. His lower jaw was missing.
Oh, man.
So I ran home, got a little shoebox, put him in that, and thought, right, I just got to drive to the vets. I didn't really know what else to do. And as I'm driving, Joanna phones the vets to say, look, we found this cat, it's been hit, what do we do? And they're like, well, we can only operate on it if somebody takes responsibility for it.
And pays for it.
Exactly.
Which ain't cheap. I don't know about Portugal, but in the US it's not cheap.
And that's where most of my money goes, is vet bills.
Wow.
And they managed to, and when we got him there, one leg was sort of like this, and we assumed it was from the accident, but we now think he might have been born with it. So he has 4 legs, but one is just tucked up on the underbelly. But he's a brilliant cat. He's the boss. He fights the cats with one arm or one paw.
The alpha male.
He is. He just comes in, eats, leaves, doesn't want attention. Yeah.
I love it. Wow. So you have a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Your gray hairs.
Yeah. Well, hey, I have no hair. So wait till you get to be my age. I don't think you're ever going to have to worry about that. But so Maeve, 41 years old. Great story, man. Loved hearing about your life. So sometimes you go on a Bodyboard Holidays trip, you may get the absolute pleasure of meeting and surfing with this gentleman. He's a great drop near, by the way. You'll see some pictures on the Bodyboard Holidays Instagram page of him, and we already gave you the website. I'm going to put those links to his website for his company Mossy Earth at the description down below if you're watching on YouTube. And we hope you enjoyed this last 38 minutes that we've been chatting.
Wow, time flies.
It's hard to sum up a person's life in 38 minutes, but we try to touch on the highlights.
You got the gist.
Yeah, we'll stay out of the lowlights. And so we're going to get out in the water maybe this afternoon, but folks, thank you for tuning in. Maeve, thank you, man.
No, thank you for having me.
I appreciate your time. This guy's busy, man. I'll tell you, he's instructing all morning, then he comes back and edits photos and video, sends it out to the guests, and then does more in the afternoon. It's like meet and greet stuff. So this guy is nonstop energy, and we love to hang out with him. I mean, we just met him, but he's great. So that'll do it for this episode of The Real Deal Show. Hope you enjoyed it, folks. If you liked it, give us the thumbs up. put any comments below if you're watching on YouTube for Maeve, if you have any questions for him, and we'll send him to that question, so maybe he can chime in on that. And hope you enjoyed. Folks, as always, we'll see you in the surf.
Cheers.